So planning is a very important part of project management. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So the first aspect of planning projects through Ayoa I'm going to be looking at is using mind mapping to plan and look at different areas of your project. And the two areas I'll be looking at to begin with are mind mapping and then finally the Canvas task board. So I'm here on the home page. Now, you may not know, but we actually have templates already available. So if you click on Browse, then click New Mind Map, you actually have a variety of templates to choose from here. If you click Choose Template, if you scroll down here, there is actually a project overview option here, which you can skip to. So, you know, if I wanted to quickly put together a mind map, I could do this. And name my mind map. I can add members of my team here. And I'm just going to click on that to open it. So you've got 3 different mind maps to choose from. So you've got speed map, organic and radial map. So for those of you who haven't used Ayoa before, speed map is like normal mind maps, but you don't have to worry about the layout. Everything's laid out very automatically for you. And it uses box branches to keep all your text really tidy. The organic map is more traditional, so it looks more like hand-drawn maps. And you've got a lot more creative freedom over where the branches are placed. And the radial map is the map that you saw when I first opened the webinar, where your map is laid out in segments, and you can change the size of the segments. So I'm just going to choose speed map, this example. And as you can see, this template, which comes with Ayoa, has already outlined, different aspects of the project that I could look at, such as personnel, the planning, the budget, resources, or schedule. So if you wanted to skip ahead, you could use the template to do that. Alternatively, if you wanted to make a mind map from scratch, all you need to do is click on New. You can name our mind map here. And I'm going to choose speed map, as I prefer to use speed map when I'm collaborating with other people. And you can choose your central idea. You can make this as simple as you like. You could just add a color if you wanted to, or you can add an image. So I'm going to search the web for a royalty-free image from Unsplash. Just create central idea. So what you could use your mind map for is like a virtual whiteboard, where you can use this before you actually start putting your task board or project together. By using this mind map, you can collaborate with other people, looking at different scenarios, exploring different solutions, and flagging up any risks or opportunities before you actually get to launching the project. So I can invite other people to this mind map, simply going up here to add. So if you haven't worked with anyone on Ayoa before, or if you want to work with someone that you haven't worked with before, just pop their email address in there. Otherwise, if you have worked with them, just type in their name and you'll see them pop up. Okay, and I've got my team. So now I want to think about, what's important to getting this project started, and what do I want to explore with my team. So I can start making my parent branches. For example, if I drag and drop here, my first branch could be opportunities. My second branch could be risks. So even before, we're trying to work out what we need to do first, we're already exploring, what do we want to get out of this project, and what can be the possible stumbling blocks. Now I can add child branches to these while I explore those different things. So you'll probably notice while I'm making this mind map that maybe my approach to this project might be different to yours, for anyone in the audience who actually works on website design. So forgive me if I'm not particularly technical, but I'm just using this as an example. So for example, opportunity could be new languages, and everyone that I've added to this mind map can contribute as well. So rather than trying to solve this problem on your own, you've got an entire team who can contribute their ideas and perhaps highlight issues or opportunities for this project that you may not have considered. Then we can identify possible risks. So okay, and so from here, you'd want to start outlining perhaps the different stages of your project that you might want to consider. So maybe, the order in which you want to do things. So for example, we might be thinking about the design. We might be thinking about resources. We could be thinking about analytics. We could be thinking about, who's working on this. So, who is the team? This is just an example of a particular project you could do, but this, this applies to anything. So already, instead of just trying to push forward blindly by using this mind map, we can start asking questions about, okay, who's going to be working on this? What are the different areas that we need to look at? So we can start building a picture of how this project needs to be set up. So for example, I could start thinking about the different actions that we need. And already we've got an idea of, okay, so it's beginning to grow and we've got an idea of the skeleton of this project and how it can grow. So now what we would want to do is move on from our mind map, now that we've got these different areas sort of considered, and we could go back to the home page and create a task board. So to go back to the home page at any time, just click Home, then click New, so we haven't completely finished with our mind map. We can keep going back and forth between that to inform us how our project is going to grow. What we're going to do now is just build up that project ready to start adding our tasks. So there are 3 different views that you can create your task boards in. So there's Canvas view, which is a kind of bird's eye view of your project, where things are displayed in circles. Then you've got your workflow view, so that's more of a Kanban style, which is great for setting up projects with a very particular workflow. And then finally, we've got the Gantt Timeline. So I will be showing you a lot more of Gantt Timeline today, as that works really well with project management. But to initially just get the project outline sort of sorted, we're going to start in Canvas view, as I find that's a really quick way just to get your outline down. So this is your blank canvas. And the great thing about working on your on a web browser is that you can have multiple tabs open, and you can have a look at your task board and your mind map at the same time. So what I'm going to do now is start outlining the different categories that we're going to be working on. So to create a new category, just drag and drop. I'm going to name the first category Design. I'm going to name the next category and if you make a mistake, simply click on it, click on the pencil, and correct it there. So just a reminder, this is a very rough interpretation of how you might set up a project like this. It's more to give an example to make you think about how you might set up your own projects. So very quickly, I've got those categories set up. So what I'm going to do now is switch to the workflow view. As you can see, this now is set up in a Kanban style board, and that might work really well for particular tasks that need to go through different stages. So this has been set up in the order that I've actually created it, so this works quite well for me. And now I can think about adding tasks and moving on to the next stage of my project planning, which is scheduling. So if I just pop back very quickly to the mind map that we were working on earlier. So there are already a few tasks in here that we've already considered. So what I can do is have a look at this, with my team, and we can think about, what tasks we want to action. So I can actually do that within the mind map. So if I click here, and then on this tab called tasks, I can actually create a task. And correct my spelling as I go along. I don't know about anyone else, but if I know someone's watching me, I do seem to completely lose the ability to spell. If you can choose exactly what task board you want to add it to. So if you click the three dots here, you can pick and choose the task board. That's my new one right down the bottom. And I can add the category there. And if I click add task, that creates a task, so I can actually see it when I'm still on my web app. But if I switch over to the task board we've created, you can see that it's already been sent here. So that means that, even whilst we are just planning and brainstorming, we can shoot these tasks to the task board that we've created straight away. And just to show you that again, so if I click on the logo branch, it's because I was in the task tab last time, it's automatically opened it. So if I click on the three dot menu here, I can choose which task board it's added to and the category, and then simply click add task. So I can have a look at it here if I want, but it's also been added in here. So now that I've started adding tasks to this task board, I can now think about scheduling. So, I'm thinking about delegation, assigning people, and starting to think about start and due dates and communicating with the team. So to show you how I would start scheduling, if I just click on this task. So right here, I've got the start date and due date. And I'm going to make this project for about a month, starting from the 11th. So I'm going to click here. I can choose a time, so bright and early, and then click set start date. I can then choose my end date. So I'm going to put that for the Wednesday, slightly later in the day. So already I've got a start date and an end date. Right now I've got this assigned to myself. If I click here and click unassign, and then click this icon, so that's that little person with a plus there, I can assign somebody else to work on this task. So I've delegated and I've identified when the start date is and when the due date is. I can also use the notes to define what the goals are, what I expect from this particular task. And if I wanted to be very particular on what I would expect to be completed, I can add additional checklist. and whomever is working on this task can tick them off as they go along. So at the moment, I just have different categories next to each other. But what I can also do is add subcategories to further segment and break down the different things that we're working on. So for example, in here, I've got that this is the design, but this may be I could break this up in different ways. For example, I'm going to break it up into different departments. Drag and drop and create another one. Example, and then I can drag and drop my tasks into the different categories. So it's just a way to make clear to whoever's working on this project where different tasks are allocated. So what I can do now is if I switch over to the Gantt Timeline view, you can switch between the views at any time by clicking up here. So this view is definitely geared towards project management and viewing schedules. So as you can see, this task is due to start here and finish there, and very easily I can adjust that start or end date, increasing it either way if I want to. So an additional feature that I have within this project, within Gantt Timeline, is as well as tasks and categories, I've also got an option called milestone. So you can use your milestones for different categories. And you can choose when you want that milestone to be due. And what you want that milestone to be called. And you can use the milestone to represent the category. So once all the different things are finished within this particular category, you could then define that milestone as completed. You can also use the notes to define what will mean that the milestone is completed. You could also use the checklists and the attachments as well. You can also add tasks directly to the Gantt timeline as well. So what I need to do is just click on the canvas and drag for however long I want this task to be. And I've got my task added there. So just to show you that again, all you have to do is just choose where you want the task to be added. Just drag for however long you want it to be, and then name your task. If you've hit the wrong bits, you can adjust the dates here very easily. You can see that already the project is starting to come together. I can see the different things that we're working on. So if I wanted to show that a task is dependent on another, what I can do, so if I hover it over the end here, you can see this little grey circle. If I click on that and I drag this here, I can now see that there is a dependency between this being finished and this one being able to finish as well. So the next stage of our project planning will be monitoring and controlling as this project develops. So from the Gantt timeline, if I just click on the task, myself or anyone else who's working on this can communicate how far along they are with the task or if it's even been started. So if they click on status, you can say that it's in progress. We click here and drag it across. And I'll show you what that looks like on the canvas as well. I can communicate that this is 60% complete. So that will be determined on, what specifications you've given to that person. So if you told them, X, Y, and Z needs to be completed, or I'm expecting this by this date, and then they can communicate how far along they are with that progress bar. What you can do to help people reach those certain milestones is adding reminders. So reminders are additional dates you can add other than the start and due date. So if I click here, I can add a little reminder halfway between the start date and the end date, and I can pop in a little note here. You can add multiple reminders to ensure that that task is staying on track. So there are additional ways to communicate as well. So by using the comment section, click at, you can communicate directly on this task. So rather than emailing back and forth, you can just communicate here. Where this is going to be really important. So anyone who's ever managed a project will know that what your objectives were at the beginning of the project can drastically change halfway through. And if this isn't communicated to everyone, then this can really hold a project back. So, by using those comments, by using those notes, you can ensure that your team is updated with the information they need to, make adjustments to whatever they're working on. So as your project becomes bigger, you may want to think about, how you're going to concentrate on different aspects of your project easily. And we've got a few different ways of making that easier. So down here, we've got the filter bar. Just bear with me a moment, there we go. So if I click on the filter, I've got some different options. So I can filter by assignee. So I could focus on, what particular person in a particular department is working on. Now I can filter by due date. Or if something hasn't been set yet. Another thing you may find useful is to create a tag system. So in this first tab here, right at the bottom, you can choose tags. You can also use that as a way of filtering different tasks that you're working on. So additional ways of encouraging people to get started or communicating what they should be focusing on. We also have urgency and importance. I can use these flags here to communicate with my team that this particular task is important. And what I can also do is, if there's something I really need a conversation about, if I click up here, I can start a group chat with the team. Just add a few different people. Using the all option, I can get everyone's attention. You can send out, multiple updates to multiple people at the same time. If there's been a big change that might affect everyone, and just to get that communication back for, what adjustments people might need, what extra resources they might need. Because at the end of the day, that is the most important aspect of project management. It's communication. You could have a plan that seems absolutely foolproof, but if no one knows what that plan is, then things are going to fall apart very quickly. So the next section of project planning is going to be, reporting and looking back on what you've done. So what your team can do is, as tasks are completed, if they click on status and click completed, so I can see now this is completely completed. You can check to see everyone's completed tasks by popping up here, clicking on completed, and you'll have an archive of what everyone's done. You'll be able to see exactly when it was completed, as well as the original completion dates, and you'll still have access to all of that information. So I have changed my settings so that I keep my completed tasks on the task board for up to 7 days. So you can, if you go to the settings, go to app settings, you can choose how long you want to show them here. Where this could be really useful, especially in a short-term project. So if you want to give a report of progress, you pop down here and click export PDF. I could show what the progress was this week. And export a PDF that I could share with others to show, when things are due to start, when things are due to be completed. And I can see, what's been completed so far. So that's one way of, showing your progress and reporting on your project. But a great way to also present your ideas is, using your mind map, even creating a new mind map to outline, what the results of your project have been. If I click here and change to radial map, what I can do is, while presenting how the project is progressed, I can zoom in on different areas and discuss those particular areas. So that's just an example of how Ayoa could be used to manage your project, especially as you're working remotely. So I'm just going to have a look at the Q&A now, see if anyone has any questions. Okay, so the first question is about Are we able to create our own mind map templates? Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to pop back to that mind map I created earlier. So if you go up to the settings, so up here, so in these settings, right down the bottom, you have an option called Create Template from Mind Map. And if you click that, that creates a template. And to use that template, if you go to Browse, click New Mind Map. So you'll find your template by clicking Choose a Template. So these first ones are pre-made ones, but if you scroll down here, you can see that these are templates that I've made earlier. So just a reminder, if you want to create a mind map from a template, click Browse and click New Mind Map there. So the next question is about when you set about setting reminders. So depending on your email notifications, the person will be sent a reminder. So for anyone who hasn't looked in their account settings, if you go here and then go to notifications and emails, you can actually control here, you know, what you want to be notified about. And you can click here for what you want to be emailed about. So if you've got reminders on, it means that you'll get an email, you know, if you've had a reminder for a task. And you can update and change those at any time. So the next question was, can the Gantt chart be exported as a PDF or any sections? Yep, so down here, when you click Export PDF, you've got the two options. You can either export the full duration, so that's from the first task, when the first task on your Gantt chart starts, to when the last task is due, or you can set and choose a range to export from in the custom export. Okay, so just while I'm waiting for a few more questions, and just to let you know, we've got a wide range of support guides available at support.ayoa.com. We also have YouTube tutorials, so if you search for Ayoa, you'll find some videos that we've made, as well as recordings of our other webinars. If you have any additional questions, you can email us at support@ayoa.com. Just to let you know about a few features that we've got coming up in around the next month. So for those of you who don't know, we have just released a new language in Ayoa, which is Korean. And we've got quite a few more languages coming up. So coming up next is Japanese and French, with a lot more planned for later in the year. So I just had a question about adding a mind map to another mind map. Okay, so you can't merge mind maps, but what you can do, again, I'm just gonna open my mind map here. So if I click on this branch, for example, and I click here, so in this last tab, at the very, very top, I've got mind map links. And if I click add, I can add a link to any other mind map that I own. And I can either leave it as just a link to that mind map, or I could link a particular branch. And then if I click add, I then got that link there. Okay, so some other updates we've got coming up. You know, the last few months has been such a big focus on working remotely. which is what all of us at Open Genius are now doing. So, you know, we're looking at making that process a lot easier. So we've got virtual meeting capture coming up, which is all about creating branches and tasks really quickly from discussion points, you know, in your chat. We're going to be introducing a Zoom integration. We're looking at something called Team Pods Dashboard. So that's all about, you know, sharing with your team, you know, what you're working on, you know, such as status updates or, you know, goals and projects that you're working on. And we've also got a presenter mode for mind maps as well. That's all coming up in the next few months, and as we get closer to those release dates, we will, you know, email everyone and just let you know. Okay, so the next question I have is about if you have an Ayoa subscription, can you collaborate with people who have free accounts? Yes, you can, as long as they haven't exceeded their own free limits. So if you have a free Ayoa account, you can have, you can be invited to and own up to 5 boards. So what I mean by boards is a mind map or a task board. So as long as they haven't exceeded that limit, you could invite them to a mind map or a task board. It just wouldn't be able to use all the features that you can use as a subscribed user. So we are delivering webinars once a week. So next week it will be getting started in Ayoa. So that will be looking at mind maps and task boards. So if anyone you know has maybe just got started with Ayoa and they are not quite sure how to use it yet, that would be a great one for them. On the 20th, we've got working remotely with Ayoa. And then on the 27th, we're doing a guide to mind mapping in Ayoa. Okay, does anyone else have any other questions about using Ayoa or using Ayoa for project management? Okay, it looks like everyone's happy, but just a reminder, if anything does come to you after this webinar, just let me know at support@ayoa.com. Oh, one final question. Can you merge 2 branches into one? No, but you can add relationship arrows instead to show that the branches are related. So if you hold Control on one branch and then on another, this brings up the multi-select tool. And so it's this icon here, can create a connection. I can show that these 2 branches are connected. So that's holding the Alt key and then selecting the 2 branches you want to connect. Which brings up this tool, and then it's this icon here, create connection. If you're not sure what these mean, just hover over them and it will say. Brilliant. Okay, so I think that is everything. I hope you found this webinar useful, and if you've got any more questions afterwards, just pop us an email at support@ayoa.com, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.